Ladies and gentlemen, this is really hilarious. It is so hilarious. They don't get it. They don't understand President Trump. They don't get how he plays the media. They don't understand, they don't realize what's taking place. They don't realize that when Trump wants something repeated, what he does is exaggerates. And to a petulant media that literally wrote an article, why Hillary, or probably the New York Times published an article, why Hillary needs to be two-faced. So when it's their preferred candidate, oh, no problem. She's running again in 2020, and suddenly any information that we get from the former Secretary of State, the Golden Moo, any words, any statements that are inaccurate, you best believe that they will be looked over. They will be glossed over. There won't be 25 Pinocchios and, oh my God, this is not true. Clinton never used servers for convenience and deleted yoga emails. President Obama knew, even though he said he didn't know. All of this is nonsense. Loretta Lynch didn't meet with Bill Clinton to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren. They're the biggest purveyors of deceit, of deception, and almost everything they say is not true. Yet you don't have this rabid, maniacal type of media obsession with the truth when it comes to Clinton or President Obama or anyone else. They knew that Trump didn't work with Russia. James Clapper stated that, but they still investigated him anyway. And they still fabricated. I mean, these are the people who use a Steele dossier. Nothing's true in the Steele dossier, but they say, well, it could be true. Could you imagine if Trump purchased the dossier that said the Golden Moo enjoyed bodily fluids raining down upon her? Enjoy the visual. But with Trump, he goes, oh, well, 94% approval. It was 88% in a Fox poll. It was something like 87%. So wait, let's see. It was 88% in a Fox poll, and then a Monmouth poll had him at like 87%. Let's just see here. Where was I looking? Monmouth had him at 84%. A Fox poll had him at 88%. An AP poll had him at 79%. So I think he's closer to 90%. He could be, I'm not exactly sure where President Trump's getting 94%. It's a latest poll that he is citing. Who knows? He's probably citing a specific poll. He's going to get them. He's going to lure them in, and then get another video, and then put a cat on there, and then the media is going to be like, "Oh my God, he made fun of us again." We thought we had him. The issue here is that who cares whether it's 94% or 88% within the Republican Party? He's playing, what Trump is doing is that he's playing both establishment Democrats, establishment Republicans, and never Trumpers, the media in general, and it's absolutely hilarious because now you have about 6 or 7 articles in major publications on the left saying it's not really 94%. In fact, it's 88%. In fact, it was 79%. In fact, it was 84%. It's still pretty good. Clinton has a 75% approval rating among Democrats. A 75% approval rating. She's going to be the 2020 Democratic nominee, and they're gonna be fine with all the things that she says that aren't accurate. And if she says something that's a little bit, there's some puffery there, or there's an issue where it's just not exactly right, but it's kind of right, they'll be like, well, it wasn't really wrong. Suddenly there won't be Pinocchios. It'll just be like, well, she tried her best. And that's what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. The media is after Trump. The media has been after Trump since 2015. They have been useless at defeating Trump. If anything, they have helped Trump. This president is so amazing that he is utilizing his biggest adversary. He's manipulating his biggest adversary in the media, because the Democrats are not his biggest adversary. It's the media. The media pumps the Trump-Russia myth, and it's filtered from corrupt intelligence officials down to CNN, MSNBC, Washington Post, New York Times, down to your favorite YouTubers on the left who were like Medicare for all, man, but at the same time, Trump worked with Russia, which doesn't make any sense at all. And Trump just continuously manipulates and it's like this jujitsu or judo move where you're using your opponent's leverage against him and they don't get it. So here's just an example. Kramer, this is CNBC. U.S. economic strength empowers Trump to continue to play hardball on China trade. Trump is, quote, Trump is set in his ways because he doesn't see any weakening, in quote, end quote, in growth compared to the Chinese economy, which the Chinese economy has been experiencing, argues CNBC's Jim Cramer. Now, this is just one example. We have record low unemployment. We have 500,000 manufacturing jobs. We have GDP that's still continuing to rise, or at least there's no isn't that a chance of 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth? That's what a recession is. There's not going to be a recession, no matter how hard Bill Maher, hopes, no matter how much they want to will a recession into place so they could defeat Trump, there's not going to be one. So Bill Maher, others are like, oh yeah, there should be a recession. It's like, no, just because you're worth tens of millions doesn't mean that everyone has to deal with an economic downturn because you want Clinton, who's more honest, more trustworthy, Clinton Foundation pay-to-play schemes? Just a coincidence, all the money flowing into the Clinton Foundation from Uranium One? Wow, what a coincidence. But you have an economy that's doing well. You have foreign policy that is much better foreign policy. He wants to bring home Americans from counterinsurgency conflict. Trump does. You're talking about a president that is completely overturning the apple cart. It's completely different under President Trump than any other president. So they're questioning his mental state. They're questioning everything about his presidency. The hilarious thing, though, is that they really have nothing to say other than the same tired propaganda ploys that don't work. So yes, it might not be 94%. It might be 88%. I actually don't know because he didn't cite the statistics, so we don't know where he's getting 94%. But if 88% of people who've met you in your life, if they said, yeah, you know what, this person's a great person, that's pretty good, close to 90%. But he's weeding out establishment Republicans because there's a dynamic here that Democrats don't understand. Democrats don't understand. They just do not understand President Trump's tactics, media tactics. They don't get it. They think that they have one up on him all the time, and they don't. They try to get him on they continually try to get President Trump. Whether it's he can't win, he's a threat to humanity. Oops, he won. Okay, he worked with Russia. No, that didn't happen. He obstructed justice. No, that didn't happen. Now there's an issue with his resorts. Nobody cares. They don't even have the audacity or the chutzpah or the courage to impeach President Trump, which would actually help him. There's literally at this point nothing that they can do to hurt Trump. Literally nothing. Clinton's going to run again, which will single-handedly implode the Democratic Party. They're not going to go with Warren. Okay? Warren is a copy of Bernie, which they cheated. And she has 1% support among African Americans, 1 or 4%. You cannot win in the Democratic primaries without a great amount of support from African American voters. That's why Biden is number one, but Biden, that situation there, I'm not even going to get into. I feel bad for him. So you have, ladies and gentlemen, you have a hilarious dynamic where it's like Trump is like, the Roadrunner, and the media is Wile E. Coyote, and it's just constantly beep 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 beep, and They're like falling off the cliff, and they're like, running in place, like right off the cliff, and then they're like, what happened? Well, you continuously tried to undermine Trump, and you just didn't get it. He wants you to talk about his approval ratings. That's exactly what he wants. When Democrats say it's not really 94%, it's only 88%, that's exactly what he wants. And they don't get that too. They don't see that. They think that they think that because they're exposing his lies, that people will suddenly like move away from Trump. They don't realize that, well, actually, he wants Democrats to continually repeat whatever it is that he embellishes, or whatever puffery there is, or whatever. So 94%, well, it's kind of true. There's 88%. And then the other ones are like 79%, 84%. It's up there. So Trump's like, whatever. Whatever, it's up there. It's not really that big of a deal to Trump. If he can get them indignant about how favorable he is within the Republican Party, he's won. If he can get them to constantly speak about how popular he is within the Republican Party, he's won. And they don't get it. They'll never understand Trump, because to understand Trump would be to kind of understand why they lose and why they failed in 2016. They can't go there. They can't possibly admit that they cheated Bernie Sanders. They engaged in this propaganda nonsense regarding Trump and Russia, and everything was hyperbole against Trump. They can't possibly admit that they're not really into their value system. They have Max Boot and Bill Kristol and other people who push military interventions. This is kind of like one of the biggest issues that nobody talks about on the left. How many times, and I used to be on the left, biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. Why? The biggest reason was that he was a non-interventionist, and I thought that he wanted to bring American soldiers home. The opposite in every way of Clinton. When Bill Kristol and Max Boot are voting for Hillary Clinton in 2016 and they'll vote for her in 2020, I'm voting for, at first I thought Bernie Sanders was different, but I'm voting for Trump. The reason I liked Bernie is because I thought he was an anti-interventionist. Okay? And they say, well, how can you go from Bernie to Trump? Because Bernie Sanders in 2016 was not the Bernie Sanders he is of today. He's not the Bernie Sanders he is of today. So Bernie right now is a human doormat. And all the people he bent over backwards after they cheated and just crushed his campaign, they cheated him. They went so far as to blame Russia for informing the country that he was cheated. All of people, a great many Bernie supporters are voting for Trump. I'm voting for Trump. Because Trump is an anti-interventionist. It's the foreign policy is a huge issue that nobody talks about on the left. Because they're like, if American soldiers have to stay there forever, they have to stay there forever. It's like, no. That's a much bigger issue to me than climate change. And people say, but the planet. Well, President Obama presided over the largest domestic expansion of oil and gas. Okay, and oil and gas production. So unless there is some amazing technology, then I think that there has to be some technological advances. That's the only thing that will really combat climate change. Because the Green New Deal is opposed by the AFL-CIO. It's a resolution. Democrats don't even have the courage to actually pass any legislation. And it's like it would not only tank the economy, do away with air travel, but it's like green electric car vehicle batteries. Electric car vehicles are not green. You talk about, they kept bringing up indigenous people within the text of the bill, of the resolution. Sorry, it wasn't even a bill. I write in the Federalist article, in my first Federalist article, this was last year, that the mining of nickel, cobalt, lithium The world's cobalt is found in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. People are losing their lives mining cobalt. The actual mines are like radioactive. And it causes tremendous political and economic turmoil from the mining of lithium and cobalt and environmental damage and pollution. But you wouldn't know that because it's the Green New Deal resolution doesn't mention that. It just says, fairies and wonderful rainbows and Marianne Williamson's love goblins and everything good will happen, and we just have to believe everyone. Meanwhile, we're enamored by our kitchen disposal, our garbage disposal. I've never had one. I never had a bidet either. I don't think it's a drinking fountain. What's the big deal? Get over it. And then this is the moral voice of our generation. Yeah, right. Give me your thoughts below. They can't stop Trump. They can only hope to contain him. It's just really hilarious. It's really hilarious. Give me your thoughts. They're like, it's not 94, it's only 88, it's only 84. It's like, that's exactly what he wants you to do. You have record low unemployment, you have 500,000 manufacturing jobs, you have a trade deficit that's being addressed by Trump. That's why, when people are like, the steel industry isn't benefiting, it's like, well, no, steel CEOs know what they're doing. They wanted the tariffs. And you have to address unfair trade practices now. If you don't address these unfair trade practices now, whether it's the farmers or steel CEOs or any sector of the U.S. economy that is impacted negatively by China dumping steel or China manipulating currency, devaluating currency, or intellectual property theft, all of these issues, when there's $1 trillion deficit and China is far bigger economically than the United States of America, you won't be able to address it. It's not that difficult of a concept to understand. Trump is doing it despite the media, just like he presided over the beginning of peace between North and South Korea, despite the media. He wants to bring home Americans, despite the media and Democratic Party. There's record low unemployment, despite the media and Democratic Party. So all of these people who are like, oh my God, well, it's like Trump is doing a great job despite all the obstacles ahead of him. Give me your thoughts below. Yeah, maybe it's 94, who knows? Could be 93, could be 88%. Who cares? This was to weed out never-Trumpers within the Republican Party, and he did a fantastic job of that because whenever Trump wants to get media to talk about something, he'll just embellish a little, and then they'll be like, oh my God, it's not true. Give me your thoughts below. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Thank you.